Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every journey when the path grows quiet, the crowd disappears, and the footsteps you hear are only your own. In that silence, you may wonder, why me? Why am I walking alone? But today, I want to tell you something powerful. Chosen ones are not abandoned, they are separated. There are moments in life when the world grows unusually quiet, when familiar voices fade into the background, and when the path ahead seems to stretch into silence. These moments often lead us to question ourselves. We wonder why we walk without companions, why certain relationships drift away, why doors close unexpectedly, and why the journey feels solitary. And in that solitude, a deeper question emerges. Why do the chosen ones walk alone? This question echoes through the hearts of those who sense that their lives carry a weight, a purpose, or a calling that is not easily understood by everyone around them. It is a question that arises not from doubt, but from a desire to understand what God is doing beneath the surface. To understand this, we must first acknowledge a profound truth. When God chooses someone for a significant purpose, He rarely begins the journey in the presence of crowds. Instead, He begins it in isolation, where distractions are removed and character is formed. Walking alone is not a punishment for the chosen, it is part of the preparation. God does not place extraordinary callings in environments that dilute focus or compromise development. He separates the chosen so their identity can be shaped without the influence of outside opinions, so their faith can stand independently, and so their purpose can mature without unnecessary interference. Throughout history and scripture, this pattern is repeated with striking consistency. David was anointed as a young shepherd, yet his first classroom was not the throne room but the quiet fields, where solitude taught him courage, discipline, and worship. Joseph carried dreams of leadership in his heart, yet God allowed him to walk through betrayal and confinement before placing him in authority. Moses spent decades in the desert, removed from the influence of Egypt before returning as a leader. Elijah withdrew to hidden places. Daniel prayed alone in secret. And even Jesus stepped into a long season of solitude before his ministry began. These stories are not coincidences. They reveal a divine principle. Solitude is the environment where the chosen are shaped. However, when we find ourselves in such seasons, it does not always feel like preparation. It often feels like abandonment. The absence of familiar support can feel like rejection, and the silence of God can feel like distance. But this is precisely where faith is refined. When God is quiet, He is not absent, He is working. When He removes certain people from your life, He is not diminishing you, He is positioning you. When He closes doors, He is not limiting you, He is redirecting you toward a path that aligns with His purpose. There are people whose roles in your life were never meant to be permanent. Some relationships are seasonal because their presence would interfere with your growth. There are environments that no longer match who you are becoming. There are opportunities that may seem attractive, but are misaligned with your calling. And there are moments when God shields you from visibility, not because you are unprepared, but because your character is still being strengthened for what lies ahead. God's protection often presents itself as isolation. He hides the chosen not to diminish them, but to preserve them until the right moment of release. In solitude, the chosen learn essential qualities that cannot be developed in comfort. Endurance is cultivated when there is no applause, no audience, and no validation. Patience is refined when progress is unseen and timelines are unclear. Humility is strengthened when success is not yet visible, and obedience is tested when following God feels costly. In this environment, the chosen learn to hear God's voice more clearly because there are no competing opinions. They learn to trust Him more deeply because they have no one else to lean on. They learn to persevere because quitting is no longer an option. The chosen also learn to confront themselves. Solitude reveals hidden weaknesses, confronts unaddressed insecurities, and exposes reliance on external validation. But at the same time, it also reveals untapped strength, overlooked abilities, and inner resilience. When God isolates you, He is not only preparing you for the world, He is preparing you to face yourself. True leadership, influence, and impact require a depth of self-awareness that cannot be acquired in crowded spaces. The hidden reason God allows the chosen to walk alone is this: isolation produces clarity. In stillness, you gain vision. In silence, you gain understanding. In solitude, you recognize the difference between what you want and what you are called to do. Certain revelations can only be received when the noise around you is removed. Certain instructions are only heard when every other voice is quiet. And certain growth can only occur in environments where comfort has been replaced by discipline. There is also a strategic element in why God separates the chosen. Not everyone has the capacity to go where you are going. Some people cannot handle the weight of your calling because your future requires a level of faith, integrity, and commitment that they are not prepared to carry. Some environments cannot sustain your growth. Some opportunities do not align with your assignment. God removes what cannot remain so you can become who you are meant to be. He separates you not because others are unworthy, but because your path is unique. It is important to understand that the season of walking alone is not permanent. God does not prepare someone endlessly. There is always an appointed time when the chosen step into visibility, influence, and purpose. But before that moment arrives, God ensures that what He has built within you is strong enough to withstand the responsibilities that come with your calling. Elevation without preparation is destructive. God will not promote you publicly until He has developed you privately when the time is right. God reveals what He has been preparing. Doors that once seemed sealed begin to open effortlessly. People you were meant to meet begin to appear. Opportunities align with your gifts and maturity. Environments shift to accommodate your purpose. What once felt like delay suddenly becomes divine synchronization. And the solitude that once felt heavy becomes the foundation upon which your strength stands. In retrospect, you will recognize the value of every quiet moment. You will understand why certain relationships had to end, why certain opportunities passed by, why God seemed silent, and why the journey required seasons of isolation. What once felt like disappointment will be seen as divine protection. What once felt like loneliness will be understood as intentional refinement. And what once felt like abandonment will be revealed as an expression of God's deepest care. Those who are chosen walk alone for a season so they can lead with maturity, influence with wisdom, and stand with integrity. Walking alone teaches responsibility. It teaches discernment. It teaches emotional and spiritual independence. And these qualities are essential for anyone entrusted with a mission greater than themselves. If today you find yourself in a season where you feel alone, misunderstood, or unseen, do not assume that something is wrong. Solitude is often the clearest sign that God is preparing you for something greater. You are not being overlooked. You are being refined. You are not being ignored. You are being instructed. You are not being rejected. You are being redirected. And you are not being diminished. You are being prepared. The journey of the chosen requires patience, faith, resilience, and trust. It requires walking when the path is unclear, believing when the evidence is absent, and holding on when the process becomes difficult. But every step taken in solitude is building the foundation for the future God has designed for you. Every challenge is shaping your character. Every silent season is strengthening your resolve. And every moment of isolation is preparing you to stand in places where others cannot. The chosen ones walk alone not because they are destined to remain alone, but because they must first grow into the individuals who can carry the destiny set before them. When God knows you are ready, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and morally, He will bring the right people, the right opportunities, and the right environments into your life. He will not allow you to miss what belongs to you, nor will He allow anyone else to take what He reserved specifically for you. Walking alone is not a sign of deficiency, it is a sign of distinction. It is an indication that God sees something in you that others may not recognize yet. It is a confirmation that your life is meant to have impact. And it is a reminder that purpose always requires preparation. In time, everything will make sense. The very path that once felt lonely will become the testimony that inspires others. The strength you developed in solitude will become the support others rely on. The wisdom you gained in isolation will become guidance for those who are searching. And the calling that once felt heavy will become the mission you carry with clarity, confidence, and humility. You were not chosen to blend in, but to stand out. You were not chosen to follow the crowd, but to lead with purpose. And sometimes, to become that person, God requires you to walk alone long enough to remember that you were never truly alone. His hand has guided you, His presence has sustained you, and His purpose has been shaping you even in the silence. This season will not last forever, but its impact will. And when the moment arrives, when God unveils what He has been preparing, you will rise not only because you were chosen, but because you were prepared in the quiet places where only God saw your journey, your struggle, your growth, and your transformation. You walk alone for now, but you walk with purpose. And the one who called you is walking with you every step of the way. There are seasons when the journey of purpose demands a kind of strength you did not know you possessed. You may find yourself moving through life with questions that feel heavier than your answers, carrying responsibilities that seem far greater than your resources. You may wonder why the path feels steep, why the silence feels deep, and why your journey feels like one few people around you can truly understand. But this too is part of what it means to be chosen. Those marked for meaningful destinies often walk through experiences that shape them in ways other people cannot see. Their struggles are not always visible, but their resilience is. Their challenges are not always spoken, but their growth is undeniable. And their journey, though often hidden, is guided by a divine hand that never fails. God's preparation rarely looks like what we expect. We often imagine preparation to be a season where everything aligns conveniently, where encouragement is abundant, and where the path unfolds without resistance. Yet most of God's greatest works are forged in unseen places, in silence, in stillness, and in solitude. When everything around you slows down or seems to fall apart, it is not a sign that God is neglecting you. It is often a sign that He is restructuring you. He is removing what cannot remain, pruning what no longer serves you, and shaping you into someone who can carry the weight of the calling on your life. Sometimes God allows the chosen to face circumstances that force them to grow beyond their comfort zone. Growth is rarely peaceful. Growth stretches your patience, tests your faith, and demands your surrender. It challenges your assumptions and reshapes your expectations. The chosen ones understand, sometimes painfully, that comfort is not always compatible with calling. The path of destiny will not always be easy, but it will always be purposeful. There will be moments when you feel as though you are stepping into places where no one else has gone, at least not in the way you are required to. You may feel misunderstood, not because people do not care, but because they cannot see what God has placed inside you. You may feel misjudged, not because you lack clarity, but because others cannot comprehend the magnitude of your assignment. You may even feel misplaced for a time, wondering why you no longer fit where you once felt comfortable. But this is a sign of elevation, not confusion. Growth often moves you beyond environments that no longer serve your development. When God is preparing you for more, He creates space by removing what limits you. One of the most profound truths about being chosen is that you must often embrace changes that others do not understand. These changes happen internally, long before they manifest externally. God shifts your desires, your priorities, your focus, and your understanding. He opens your eyes to things you previously overlooked. He gives you wisdom beyond your years and discernment that feels sharper than before. You begin to recognize that not every opportunity is meant for you. Not every relationship aligns with your mission, and not every path is meant to be walked, even if it appears attractive. This level of awareness is not common. It is the mark of someone who is being prepared for a higher purpose. The chosen ones begin to develop a clarity that does not come from human reasoning, but from spiritual insight. You start to see why God closed certain doors, why He removed certain people, and why He withheld certain blessings until the right time. You begin to understand that divine timing is not a delay, but a safeguard. If God had given you everything when you first wanted it, you would not have had the maturity, strength, or understanding to sustain it. The chosen learn that delay is often protection, silence is often instruction, and isolation is often alignment. During these seasons, God teaches the chosen to rely on Him in ways they never had to before. When everyone else is present, it is easy to seek validation from others, to lean on human support, and to depend on external confidence. But when God pulls you into a season of walking alone, it becomes clear that He is teaching you to draw strength from Him alone. He becomes your anchor, your guide, your reassurance, and your comfort. The chosen learn that God's presence is not always loud, but it is always faithful. He is there in the whisper of peace that quiets your fears. He is there in the reassurance that steadies your steps. He is there in the resilience He places within you, even when you feel you have nothing left to give. Walking alone also teaches you responsibility. The chosen ones do not wait for others to motivate them. They learn to encourage themselves. They learn to wake up and pursue their purpose, even when no one else is watching. They learn to act with integrity, not because it is expected, but because it is who they are. They learn discipline because their assignment requires it. And they learn courage because destiny will always demand boldness. These qualities are not developed in comfort, they are developed in solitude. And because of this, the chosen ones carry a depth that is not easily shaken. They walk with a maturity that cannot be fabricated. They lead with an authenticity that cannot be imitated. And they stand with a strength that cannot be replicated. Their resilience becomes their testimony, and their endurance becomes their character. But perhaps one of the most powerful aspects of the chosen journey is the transformation that happens within the heart. Walking alone softens you in ways pride never could. It humbles you in ways success never would. It deepens your empathy, expands your compassion, and strengthens your ability to understand others. You begin to recognize pain in others because you have walked through your own. You begin to guide others with patience because you know what it feels like to navigate uncertainty. And you begin to uplift others because you understand how important encouragement is during difficult seasons. The chosen ones are shaped into leaders, not by titles, but by experiences. They are shaped into mentors, not by authority, but by empathy. They are shaped into examples, not by desire, but by discipline. And they are shaped into vessels of influence, not by human validation, but by divine intention. Yet for all the transformation that occurs in solitude, the chosen ones are never meant to remain alone forever. God does not call people into isolation permanently. He calls them into isolation temporarily so that when He releases them, they are prepared, polished, and purposeful. There will come a time when the chosen step into roles that require visibility. There will come a time when their voice is needed, when their leadership becomes significant, and when their gifts begin to impact others. And when that time comes, the weight of the responsibility will not break them because solitude strengthened them. They will not be overwhelmed by the pressure because preparation matured them. And they will not be shaken by challenges because they learned endurance long before the spotlight ever arrived. The chosen ones eventually come to understand that everything they endured has purpose. Every quiet night, every unanswered question, every moment of loneliness, every season of uncertainty, every step taken without understanding, it was all building them into the person God needed them to become. Nothing was wasted, not the tears, not the waiting, not the isolation. God uses every part of the journey to prepare the chosen for their ultimate assignment. And when the chosen ones finally step into the fullness of God's plan, they carry with them a wisdom that inspires others, a strength that empowers others, and a humility that honors God. They walk with confidence, not because they never felt fear, but because they learned to trust God in the moments when fear was overwhelming. They lead with grace, not because they never experienced struggle, but because they learn compassion through their own challenges. And they rise with purpose, not because their path was easy, but because their preparation was intentional. So if you are in a season where you feel alone, if your journey seems different, unfamiliar, or difficult, take heart. You are not lost. You are not forgotten. You are not falling behind. You are being prepared, strengthened, and positioned. You are being molded into someone who can carry the weight of a calling that others may never understand. You are being refined so that your character matches your assignment. You are being shaped so that your purpose can be fulfilled with excellence and integrity. Walking alone is not a mark of abandonment. It is a mark of distinction. It is the quiet confirmation that God is doing something extraordinary within you. And one day, when the appointed time arrives, everything will align. The reasons will become clear, the doors will open, the support will appear, and the purpose behind your solitude will shine with undeniable clarity. Your season of walking alone will produce a lifetime of impact. And when you rise, and you will rise not only because you were chosen, but because you were prepared.